Ninth International Conference of Tibet Support Groups was successfully held last week in Brussels, Belgium. The conference this time saw the participation of over 170 members of Tibet support groups from 40 countries who came together to strengthen their effort to address the severe and urgent situation in Tibet and to discuss ways forward in the Tibetan freedom struggle. To tell us more on the insights and outcome of the conference, I am pleased to have Mr. Tenzin Lekshay, Additional Secretary of the International Relations of the Department of Information and International Relations, joining us for this conversation. Tashley and welcome to our program.
Tashley.
So, Lekshay, to start with, can you tell us or can you sum up the 9th International TSG meeting in Belgium this time and how did it go?
As being the facilitator of this conference, we have looked into the previous conference, how it was convened and how much the outcome it reflects out of this past conference. And we put in efforts to make sure that this conference concludes successfully. So as of now, what we felt is like we try to address the crux of the issue, and that is to resolve the Southern Tibetan conflict. So for all the Tibetan supporters, wherever they are, so every the conference holds every 3 years' time. So it is an important juncture for all the supporter groups to come together and discuss and to strategize and to talk about the important issue where they have to address. So we believe that over the last 65 years, there are lots of things which are happening inside Tibet, and the severity of the Tibetan issue has gone down in such a manner that we have to take a special focus. So this time, the focus agenda is mostly about how to resolve the Southern Tibetan conflict, how can the support groups can support in a way to resolve the Southern Tibetan conflict. And in that manner, we have to look into the political issues, human rights issues, ecology issues. So there are many issues which are very much disturbing inside Tibet. So so far, we had more than around 170 participants from 40 different countries, and whole day they discussed about the agenda, and one whole day we had orientations about what is really happening inside Tibet by expert panels, not just about Tibet, but also we call upon the leaders of the I would say the Common Alliance, like from the Uyghur, from the South Mongolians, from the Hong Kongers, from Taiwan, to address their own issues and the prospects and the challenges, so that we should also learn from their experiences. So it's a kind of orientation a group discussions whereby they will come out with the action plans. So far it went successfully. So now it's up to the support groups to go back to their own regions to check out the plans as per the action plans which was mandated in the conference.
And can you also talk about the meeting's participant composition? Like how many are there and who are they? Are they new TSG members? Because we have seen a lot of new faces as well, fresh faces. Or you can say, I think more of young people are also there, along with the experts in the meeting, during the meeting, right?
So this time, what we intend to do is, because we look at the past conferences and found that there are many Chinese dissidents participated in the conference. So since this is a Tibet Support Group conference, so we have narrowed down in such a manner that this conference is particularly focused on the support groups who can advocate for the Tibetan cause and Tibetan freedom. So therefore, this time we have not invited the Chinese dissidents. We thought that they should have a separate avenue to have another address, another kind of formations where we all can come together as a common alliance. But for this support group conference, it has to be the focus on the support groups. So this time we have invited the support groups, and in addition to that, over the last 2 years under the 16 Kashak, we have tried to form the voluntary Tibet advocacy groups all over the world, and they were volunteer Tibetan youths, mostly youths, who are doing advocacy works in their own regions. So they have their own regional coordinators. So we thought that it is very important for them to also be part of it, so that they can also learn, relearn and unlearn about what they should do in the future, and also to build a networks with the stakeholders. So they were also being invited, young Tibetans were being invited to be part of this conference. And not only that, since it was held in Europe, so the members of parliament, two members of parliament from Europe were also being invited, and the Tibetan associations, the executive of the Tibetan associations were also being invited because of the benefits of being held in the region. So therefore, it's about the composition of young Tibetans and old Tibetans, and young Tibet support groups who were there for the last 20, 30, 40 years, and also very young brand of Tibet supporters who are also being participated. So it's a mixture of all those people who are longing to do the advocacy works, and not just advocacy but also activism in support of Tibet issue.
What are the main objectives and agenda this time?
So when you look at the agendas, so every Tibetans aspire for restoration of the Tibetan freedom, right? So therefore, while looking into the real aspirations of Tibetan people, right? So we addressed the agendas which align to the aspirations of Tibetan people, right? So major part of the discussions were about how the Tibetan supporters can help in support to the resolutions of the Sino-Tibetan conflict. And not just that, but also at this point of time, under Xi Jinping's leadership in China, we see a drastic, a new, very complex, suppressive regime or the rules happening inside Tibet. So therefore, we have to also address those important issues, political issues, human rights issues, ecological issues. So therefore, during that meeting, conference, we heard about the dam protests in Tibet, where around more than 1,000 people are being detained and imprisoned. So all the participants at that point of time have addressed in showing solidarity to the Tibetan people. So there are people these supporters, right, they could have done it when they go back, but it's spontaneous. They all are there for the cause of Tibet. And during the meeting, all the participants has reaffirmed their commitments for the cause of Tibet. So this is one kind of a moment where we cherish the unison of our voice flows from all through the world. So this is one thing which is very successful in a way that all people of different backgrounds, of different regions come together, conglomerate, and then discuss about one thing, that is about Tibet, and showing solidarity and support of Tibet.
Mm-hmm. And like Lekshay, you have just said, people from different walks of life and different nationalities who all came together for the common goal, right, for the freedom and justice for Tibet and for their countries as well. So tell us, how were the participants' reaction and participation rate in general of this meeting?
Oh, because Tibet issue is very dear and near to all the Tibet support groups who are there participating in this conference. So it's been a very exhausting, 3 days program right from morning till evening. Even at the night time also, we had many meetings, follow-up meetings. So therefore, it's somehow being very symbolic in a way that irrespective of different regions, different backgrounds, different, right, so many different things coming from different people, but they all are in unison, coming together and putting their efforts to make sure that they are there in the front in supporting the Tibetan issues. So therefore, this I think is a moment where the Tibet issue, in essence, is still there. Right, it's not been dying. There are many people who thought that Tibet issue is not being visible enough. But while looking into the aura of this conference, it's been so vibrant. Right, they all talk about Tibet issues. They all are concerned about Tibet issues, and they all know that it is not just about Tibetan people's right, but also it's about justice, which is very universal, which is very common to everybody. So that binds them all together to work for the Tibetan cause. So therefore, I think it's been very successful in a way, and there are agendas, there are action plans which they have put forward, so which is very timely. Right, the 16 Kashas talk about in the vision paper about Tibet's historical stature, and the Tibetan support groups also has come forward in adopting action plans to address the historical stature of Tibet. So these, I think, align to the aspirations of Tibetan people. So therefore, we all are going in the same direction. Yes.
And talking about the outcome of the 3-day conference, it's the action plan, right? So what can we expect to see in the near future regarding Tibet advocacy campaign strategies?
So now, see, support groups, they are from different places, different networks, different groups, different ideas. But this conference has come up with a common action plans for all the support groups in the worldwide to look into and address. So one very important, there are 5-6 agendas now they should address and they should work on. The number one agenda is that all of them are concerned about the reincarnation of His Holiness. And all of them thought that His Holiness reincarnation should be the matter which should also be discussed and talk about, where His Holiness has the legitimate right, not the Chinese government. Right. This is one thing. Second thing is about the historical narratives. Right. It is not about Umen Lam and Rangzhen at all, but all are in the same page, right, talking about the historical independent stature of Tibet. Right. This is another thing that they should also address to, right, to their political leaders, to their families, communities, right, civil societies, think tanks, and even to the medias. Right. And they also talk about the Tibet's fragile ecology, how it is important to the world. Right. They also talk about ending transnational repressions, because Tibetans are also facing, right, transnational repressions. So they are also trying to address all these issues, very trending issues, important issues, which China has been working on over the years. So this is to counter China's narrative, right? So the agenda is very much, it's within the scope of this timely, right, and very important, and aligning to the visions set up by the CTA.
So these are the core agendas that will be materialized, or that can be used for advocacy campaigns, right? The main focus on. So anything different in the 9th International THG Conference compared to the last time, which was in 2019 in Dharamshala, right? So can you talk a little bit more on that?
The main different thing which we have looked into is the agenda. What should be discussed in the 3 days conference? So ultimately, right, the Tibetan people long for freedom. Ultimately, so the Tibetan supporters, right, they cannot shy away in discussing about how can they help in resolving the Sino-Tibetan conflict. So this is the main agenda which was put right, on to discuss, on to deliberate among the support groups, even though it might be far away, a distant kind of a thing, but it has to be addressed from right now. It has to be also worked into ensuring solidarity for the Tibetan people from right now. So the major part of the agenda is on this issue. So for that, the historical narrative is very important. To counter China's narrative is also one very important component of this issue. And then, as earlier, in showing political support for Tibet, we discussed a lot about human rights issues, human rights violations inside Tibet, right, and ecology. So these are also very important subjects, right, releasing political prisoners inside Tibet. Right, there are so many people who are being suppressed even now, right, in front of of the world. China has been belligerent, and even now. So therefore, this also is very important subject to be discussed about how they can show solidarity for the Tibet. Now, the different thing is what we have done for this time is that earlier we have as I said before, earlier, irrespective of it is a Tibet Support Group conference, but we have many different people, composition of many different people coming together in the forum. So this time we were more focused in putting the support groups, right, in this conference, so that the support groups can work on to show solidarities, right, on Tibetan issues. So there are people who are not being invited this time, right, but we have different avenues, different platforms where we can engage, right. So one thing is the Common Alliance, right. This time we haven't invited many Uyghurs or many Mongolians or many Chinese dissidents in this conference because we have different avenues, different programs for such matter to be deliberate. And since this is a Tibet Support Group conference, so we have made sure that the representatives have all been connected to the support groups. They're being invited, and then we try to make sure that they are being respected and right. And all the logistics were there to make sure that everything runs smoothly.
Okay, so Lekshay, thank you so much for your time today and speaking to us about the 9th International TSG conference, which was held successfully in Belgium. And thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting for the Tibettv program. Thank you.
The conference event is organized by Tibet Interest Group from the European Parliament in partnership with the Belgium-based International Campaign for Tibet, facilitated by the Office of Tibet Brussels and the Department of Information and International Relations of the Central Tibetan Administration. Thank you so much for watching and see you all in the next episode of In Conversation with Tibettv.